Around the EcomiVerse. Get pumped up. Get excited. Here we go.
Yo, 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 welcome to Around the EcomiVerse episode 80. That's 80 episodes, guys. That's crazy. We got your boys, Crypto Rain, the Real Randy Chavez, Mr. MC1, and Doctor of Stuff. How's everyone feeling today?
Amazing.
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Awesome, awesome. We got a ton of comments today. Let's go. We got Bill Garner in the house. I know it's before New York Comic Con last year. I believe they dropped an OMI article news before the VeVe fam in real life. Do you think they'll see an OMI announcement? What do you guys think? Love some speculation. Randy, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I could make because I try to go and make sure I know both sides and could argue the fudder side better than they can. I can make great points for them doing it both before, during, and after. So it's really up to them what they want to do. I assume they'll know what's best. I assume they've ran some tests with some people like, oh, tell your friends about this and see, how they react and have them sign NDAs or whatever. So whatever they decide to do, I'm sure they'll be good in either of those. I know that's the most political answer you'll ever get out of me, but that's
no, that's all good. I think we have to be more careful with our answers these days after the timelines have stretched out. Hey, we got G Money in the house. We got Dutch Homie, Abe, Wes. We got Chuck Boy. Randy, have you seen the On-Chain Summer of 69 video clip?
That's a reference to the song like Summer of 69.
Yeah.
I know that song. I don't know the On-Chain Summer of 69.
Chuck Boy made a video clip. It's crazy with his friend. Cool. It's really good quality. I'll send it to you afterwards. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, send it to me too. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that sounds like fun for sure.
Yeah, he's like wearing a wig and stuff. I don't want to give it away.
Okay, awesome.
Doctor Stuff has the most level-headed opinions. Here we go.
Yes.
I never know with reading Wes's comments how much he's being like authentic or he's being sarcastic, because he goes either way.
That's fair, right? He could be joking. He could be being sarcastic right now. It's kind of up in the air.
Big A in the house. Mr. MC1, let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, MC1.
and Mr. MC1, I think some people have started getting their hats, right? Some people started getting the OMI.
Only the guys who wanted it without signatures. So for the guys who wanted signatures or where there were two hats, one signed, one unsigned, then I'm just going to wait till it gets signed. And shipping is so expensive. So,
guys,
yeah.
These things are so good looking.
So I'm going to get them signed in San Diego Comic Con and then ship it. So
awesome. That looks so good. I can't wait. I must have ticked the signature. I forgot. But
yeah, I must have.
Josh in the house. Yeah, we got Kumo.
Hey, Kumo.
What's up, Kumo?
What's up?
Boys, is this OMI for real, or did I just waste $3,000? I hope not. I mean, let's see.
You're going to be able to buy something with it soon, so,
Speaking of Mr. MC1, how much OMI do you have? Do you care to reveal?
Brother, I have more OMI than you now. So you're not going to go there now.
But I think everyone on the panel has more OMI than me now. But I still own some OMI.
That bear? You really? Oh, look at that.
Well, I know Randy and Rain have both similar to almost 190 million OMI around there.
I don't have about 40,
what do you have, Sanjay?
40 mil OMI.
Yes, look at you climbing that ladder.
Yeah, I'm coming down
that ladder. You've got like around 50. What do you have?
What's that?
You got around 50 mil OMI?
No, I got like 22 mil. 22 mil.
Ah, there you go. There's someone I've got about the same. So.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had like 150 million.
I had 220 mil last year, around this time last year, 220 mil. But
At what point did you sell the
unfortunately,
Omi? What
they
price
did,
point?
yeah, they just did not keep their promises, and I still believe in Omi long term. Just the money I sold, I like doubled and tripled that money. So if I just kept it in Omi, I would be
What price
down
point did you
way.
sell the Omi at?
I think a lot of it was at 008. We had a few runs last year around 008. Sorry, 008, 008 to 001. Yeah, we had a few runs around there.
So even if you just doubled, that's about 160,000. So even if you doubled that, you're at 320 of just other play money. Would you get it back in Omi now that it's 005?
That's the thing. So if my other stuff does keep running and Omi stays down, I'll definitely buy more again. So we'll just see. I'm playing, seeing how it goes. But unfortunately, like I held with you guys for like 2.5, almost 3 years, and then I was like, they still haven't done what I want them to do, and I don't know when they will. I believe they will. That's why I haven't sold everything, man. If I didn't believe in it, I'd sell everything. And I'm still holding a good bag. I've got my 10 million in VeVe, and then I've got another 10 million or so across multiple accounts. So,
Well, like I'm stoked to hear more diversification, right? Because that was one of the things. That's what I keep telling Randy. Like diversification is key, and you got to get to a point where you feel comfortable, right? Because if you're too concentrated in any one token, whether that's Omi or not, right, and that's stressing you out too much, I think it's smart to, like, if you don't believe, if you're like at this level, I don't believe that, I have questions. If it doesn't go well for me, this could be really bad. I think that's smart. I think that's smart to diversify, right? You got to do and that's the thing that I think is so important is everyone's got to do what's best for them, right? What's best for Randy, like he's all down for going all in on Omi. That's best for him, right? That's his best.
I didn't lose my faith, but I did realize I've got a family, right? A wife and 2 kids to look after. And if I put everything in Omi and then it doesn't do anything, then we're in big trouble, right? Like big financial trouble.
Part of the challenge is it might take too long, right? And when you're not diversified, you only have the one position. And like a lot of people are like, Omi didn't deliver on this or VeVe didn't deliver on this. A lot of it's just waiting for the narrative to hit. When the narrative hits, like they have done so many things. When the narrative hits, it's going to blast off. And it doesn't matter if they accomplish 10 things more or they don't do another single thing before that happens. It'll go absolute crazy because they're the leader in that industry of digital collectibles with top intellectual property. So you're just waiting for the narrative to run. The problem with lack of diversification is it's then hard to be patient. Like last cycle, I had a friend that went all in on Cardano. Happened to work out for him that it went 100x and went 100x very early. But had it not happened, he would have gotten crushed because he probably would have watched everything else go up. And say Cardano had run late, he then would have tried FOMOing into those, which did already run up, and he would have lost out big. So I am a big fan of diversification, only from the standpoint that it helps you be patient, especially when you go all in on crypto and you sold your business, you have no cash flow, right? That puts you in an ongoing weak position because it's like, well, you have to have savings or something to pay the bills in the meantime. And it makes your being able to wait and be patient, it makes that way more difficult, which can put you into a cash crunch, which will like crush you, right?
That's exactly what happened as well. And I sold all my businesses, and it was and I don't know why I expected things to go up faster for everything, and it just didn't. And so diversifying was a great idea. And a lot of the players I put my money into, they did really, really well. Obviously, everything's had a huge pullback. Everyone knows everything is down now. But I mean, towards the start of this year, I was at $1 million in my portfolio, and I wouldn't have been if I just kept all my Omi. Not saying Omi won't do crazy gains in the future. Just I'm way further ahead.
Yeah.
Well, one of the nice things about diversification too is if something else, like I'm a big fan of Omi. It's my number one bet, but I don't know when the timing is going to happen. So diversification, if it takes off on something else, that actually frees up some funds that I can roll more into Omi because Omi hasn't run yet. And that I captured some gains there. So say something else goes 20x. And then I roll that into Omi, say Omi's still at the same price, and say Omi does 100x from here eventually. Well, that 20x gets rolled into something that then does 100x, and the gains get crazy. And that's the power of diversification. And lack of diversification, it really, really makes it hard to be patient because, look, when is the digital collectibles narrative going to run? I don't know. It ran differently than most of the rest of the cycle last time. Maybe it'll run with the cycle this time. I have no idea. It may or may not.
I'm love what you're saying there, Rain. Obviously I follow you quite extensively, and I'll take a lot of the advice that you have as well. By the way, I've taken, some of the things that you've shared with me more privately as well. I've taken, all of that advice. I, a lot of trust and faith in you, man. I'll share a couple of thoughts, on the OMI side specifically. Look, I'm very Amazonian in nature. The Jeff Bezos style of thinking is there's inputs and there's outputs. To me, the price of OMI is an output. The inputs into it are the token, the developments on VeVe, how they promote and develop VeVe, how they develop OMI into VeVe, how do they integrate OMI into VeVe, the type of utility that they create for OMI on VeVe. To me, those are all the inputs. I'm very heavily focused on those. So for me, the 3-4 things that levers that hit. First things first, they said, look, there is OUP. So you hold that OMI in the app and in the wallet, you get MCP points. Then they said, look, you hold it for another season, we'll do this. Then they said, okay, keep holding it, we'll do this. Then when they said OMI to NFT, I was super excited. That's when I went, okay, look, I'm no longer going to stay at 4 million OMI. I took it to 40 million OMI, right? Now, the whole thing about OMI to NFT is something that I'm very focused on. Now, I can't share very much here because I'm actually, interestingly, I'm in the know now. So I actually do know. Yes, I do. I have actually, gone into the version where this thing works. I've played with it. I've done a whole bunch of things in it. I just can't talk about it. Either what I did or the timing of it. But all I can tell you is whatever I did, I liked. And I did a lot of things. I liked a lot of things.
There's some massive alpha right there for everyone watching. Okay.
But
Hey,
Mr. AC1,
Liking to hear that.
Does OMI to NFT exist? I can tell you it does.
Wes, are you taking notes here? Because I had a bet with him. Well, I tried to make multiple bets with him about OMI to NFT coming this year. And I said by the end of August. So we'll see. Apparently there's some sort of beta testing going on. I don't know how many.
Not yet.
Oh.
The beta testing is not yet going on.
So are you alpha testing then? What's this?
Kinda.
Okay. So that's no beta testing yet, but I'll just say if it's to that point where some people are getting a sneak peek behind the curtain, that's exciting, man.
Just this weekend. Somehow I got it.
So for me, I just wish there'd be more clear timelines. Obviously, they don't have timelines. I know why they don't have
timelines on this because they're developing.
No, but I want to tell you guys, there's other projects that actually have timelines, and
that's
they usually
fine. I don't care.
Yeah, that's good for them. They're not VeVe.
Good for them, man. This project is stealth. What they built. They've told everybody they're working on this. It's a top priority to get out. They're working on it. They built a number of things. There's a few bugs that they need to clean up. Will those bugs take 3 days, 2 weeks, or a month? We don't know that, right? At least you don't know that, and even if I do, I won't tell you that, right? And then they will do beta testing. The next step is beta testing. They're going to bring people in. They're going to beta test it. If there's a couple of weeks of that, they'll fix it. Then they'll roll it out. So, and in the beta testing, as some issues come out, they might push it out by a couple more weeks compared to when they actually thought. So, look, I mean, we don't need to agree. I know whatever project does whatever stuff. VeVe is not like other projects. VeVe has multiple licenses. This is not your NFT project, which is only NFTs. It's not your crypto project with 3 games in it or with one provider of 3 games or 5 games. It's a very different kind of thing. They've got lots of licensors. They've got Disney, they've got Marvel, they've got DC, they've got all kinds of stuff in here. There's a lot of intricacies when it comes to OMI to NFT. There's a lot of intricacies with how it would work with a platform. There's a lot of intricacies with which countries, where, what problems they have. So it's not an easy thing. They've done a lot of work on it. They've got, a lot of people working on it. And you just have to be patient with it. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. So be it. So be it. By the way, just on a different topic, right? But somewhat related.
I do want to come back around in a second to the inputs and outputs thing. Let's do that, brother,
for 1 minute. So, VeVe did Marvel Comics in stealth, where it's not an NFT. It just is, these modern comics come out. They launch the app. They're in stealth. So that whole project that they did, in stealth, and they launched it, guess what? Immediately after they launched it, DC said they're doing it. So if they had said 3 months back that they're doing it, then DC would have launched it at the same time as them, or might have also beaten them to it. But anyway, so, I think it's just the way it works, man. It's just the way it works. So
you made a good point. And you were at Amazon during some really high growth years. And like what a lot of people don't understand is this is just early stage business investing. And one of the reasons why Omi is one of my favorites is like the number of inputs that they continue to put in towards their growth and towards major IP is tremendous. They are crushing all the competition for this. And a lot of people are feeling really impatient because the Omi token has gone mostly down for 3 years. If you overall trend, it's pretty much gone down for 3 years. And for a lot of people, 3 years seems like an exorbitant amount of time. And they can't continue to be patient. It just blows them out of the water. And I'm sad for them because they're going to miss out on an explosion that will happen. And so like, when I say I believe in diversification, don't think I don't believe in Omi. Omi is one of my larger bags. I want it to be my largest bag. I'm just waiting for some other things, the price to go up to continue to get a lot more Omi because I see the amount of inputs that they're putting into their business. And at some point, this narrative will run. And when it does, they will have people that don't know anything about crypto. They'll see these NFTs and digital comics, and the narrative will make sense to them. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge. And then as you see all these new people with new money coming in, the Omi token will go absolutely nuts like nobody can even believe. And the reason why, like, I believe in diversification, but I keep diversifying other things into more Omi and not the other way around, is I don't know when that explosion is going to happen. And when it does, it's going to run away from you. And so it's like, I like loading up while it's still cheap, because if I'm trying to catch it after that explosion happens, it could be 5x, 10x, 50x from here. And then you just missed the ride of your life that you could have been on. So the only reason I say for a lot of people, diversification, if I were to go all in on only one token, it would be Omi. The reason why I tell people who are new that that isn't right for them is they don't have the patience to make that work. If Omi takes a little bit longer and other things run, they will FOMO out of their Omi into those other things, and they won't be able to just wait. Waiting on Omi, like they have so many inputs, like you said, like at some point the explosion is going to be quite big.
Yeah, I want to address that. So let me jump in here because like a couple things, right? As we're talking about inputs, outputs, Jordan's Omi holdings and things. Because I remember when Jordan first told me that, like how much Omi he had, and he wasn't really in anything. And Ray and I both were like, yo, you should probably think about diversifying, just like we told Randy. And Randy listened to us, and he's like, nope, I'm good, you know. But two things. I think when Rain says like they're not just patient, you also touched on something. I think it could be multiple things, right? It's like they need things to run like in the sooner time frame, right? And so they're just like they need to see some gains there, or it's just like they can't be so concentrated in one token. Like Jordan, when Jordan was just like, look, at the end of the day, Omi's not moving, and I'm seeing a lot of these other tokens moving. I'm going to do some research, and like I've got to diversify a little bit more out to a level that I feel comfortable with, where if Omi doesn't move for another year or two, I'm okay, and I can hold that, and it'll be fine there. But so I love that he's done that. You like for mental health perspective, you have to get to levels on your holdings where you feel comfortable that it could go to zero. And if you don't have that income and you're fully invested in crypto and tokens are not moving, that can be a scary situation. Sure. So like anyone who's saying that like Jordan's lost faith in there, that's not necessarily the case. I think, like he said, that he slowed down to a level where he felt comfortable. Well, if it went to 0, or it's fine, or he's now more patient and can be patient in holding for that level. So I think that that's important to realize there. But then also, like, just because someone can't just hold on to OMI, it might be that like they've only got a small bag, and or that there's not a lot of income in there, and so they need to diversify so that they can take advantage of some of those bumps. But where I'm going with this is the last kind of late last cycle, what I found is that when I've sold out of tokens because I was impatient, and this is for me, right? Where I was impatient, it was like I could have held on to those tokens. Oh, shout out to Messi, baby. I had to shout him out. That wow, awesome. I hope his ankle's okay. But where I was going with this is I sold out of a token that I was just like, man, this is not pumping. And I went and I jumped into another token that did well. It did like a 2x. Well, that other token did nothing. And I was like, I made the right call. I'm like freaking genius, you know? And then what I saw happen is that token I sold out of did a 40x. And I didn't buy back in, right? So I made that 3x to 3x, and then I didn't buy back in. Even though I believed in that token, I forgot to buy back in. And so when people are like, Doc, like, why aren't you selling OMI? Like, I mean, Big A was like, hey, like I sold my OMI and I bought into AVAX and it did like a 3x. And I'm like, that's phenomenal. Like, I will never criticize people for whatever decision they make. That's great. But what I found for myself is if I sell out of a token, I forget to go back in, right? Or I get a little bit greedy and I'm like, oh, there's something else along the lines, and I forget. And that to me was enough to be like, with OMI, it's one of the most, like, I'm so confident in the team and like the fact that it's going to be around for years to come. Yeah. That I can hold on to this token for as long as I need, right? And if it goes to 0, it goes to 0. But I have a lot of confidence that I think that this can do a lot of multiples, but I don't know when it's going to be, right? But I have a level right now that I'm totally fine with. I'm going to continue to add to this stack, but I'm also buying other tokens at the same time, right? So anyways, think about inputs and outputs and patience, but then there are certain situations where it's like you don't have the income. You've got to diversify there to make sure that you are getting some gains, because like a token that's just sitting there for so long and not doing anything can be hazardous to your mental health.
Yeah, especially if you're living off it, which is the biggest issue.
Yeah,
I've sold, I think, $50,000 or $60,000 worth of crypto over the last 1 year, which I absolutely hate doing. That's the reason I sold my house. So I've just sold my house now, and it settles next week, which means I can probably put $50,000, $60,000 back into crypto and have a cash supply for like 6 months. So I'm going to be set up perfectly for this bull run. And I'm going to be able to buy back most of the crypto I sold, which it's, if you're into crypto, selling it is very painful, especially when you know that it's down here and it's going to go up here in a few months, right? So I think I've made the right move for myself. And I might pick up a bit more OMI, especially how bullish Sanjay is. We'll see what happens.
Look, I wanted to make sure you understand a couple of things. So first things first, talk about VeVe first, right? Because the whole, OMI is a utility token and it's utility on VeVe primarily, right? So for at least for me and some of my friends, like Dr. Rolex, Tony, Prophet, all these guys, right? So, that group of people, there's a Dr. Fuse, XR. For a lot of these guys, there's a deep belief that, look, we've seen in our lifetime, we're all in our 40s, 50s kind of thing, right? In our lifetime, we've seen digitization. We've seen how digitization has happened, came, in the B2C world, it came with mobile phones, how it's gone to the next level, it's penetrated, freaking, cassettes are gone, DVDs are gone, everything's digital. Like, everything's digital. All your consumption is very heavily digital, no matter what you do, movies, this, that, and the other, and so to certainly start believing, but everything's digital, but the toys are going to be physical only. Like that, there's a few of us who believe that the future of that space is also digital. There will be, there will be physical stuff, digital stuff, this, that, and the other, but the future is all digital, man. Like, we're not talking like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Now, it's possible that it may be digital, but it may manifest in a different way, Maybe it's not blockchain, maybe it's some other technology by which, it comes in through phones and other things, but it's not blockchain based. There's a few of us who believe that no, what blockchain offers you in terms of ownership, that whole validation, the security, the record, the transparency, all that stuff, right? Like in general, in that what that technology brings to this space, we believe is better than just JPEGs and shit here and there, right? So there's a lot of us who believe in that, and we're buying heavily. Like, a lot of us have put our money where our mouth is. And it's not like we spent money in 2021 when, everybody was spending a bunch of money. Like I bought a whole bunch of Marvel Comic 1 SRs, I bought gold and silver logos, I bought all these different things, and all of these guys have too, right? And so my belief is that this thing is growing. Now there are others who don't believe in it. Now who knows what will actually happen, right? But we believe in it, we're doing it, we're putting our money where our mouth is, number one. Number two, you just never know. I think VeVe is one, IP and one post away from being viral. And it's like it's firewood. There's a lot of firewood there, They've got Blackpink, they've got Marvel, they've got DC, they've got all these things in there. Music NFTs, there's sports NFTs. You just, at some point in time, it's my belief, there's enough firewood out there where one fine day, one spark will light it up. We don't know when it will happen, what will happen. At least that's my belief. It may not happen. Then if you think about OMI, right? Now you think about OMI and you say, I fundamentally believe there's enough people on VeVe today such that if they say that you increase it from 10 million to 20 million, there's enough people to put 20 million in the app. OMI. When they say 30 million or 25 million, 50 million, 100 million, when they create the tiers, there are enough people to put that much OMI in the app to make the supply short. That's my belief. I don't know if you guys agree or not. We don't even need anybody new. I believe that will happen just with who we are and what we want to do. But now you add in all these new people who come in, and then all this other mechanics of you're able to buy with OMI and do stuff. And one reason why I bought OMI, by the way, just full disclosure, is if ever OMI becomes super expensive and you have OMI to NFT, I'll be sitting on a pile of cash to buy stuff. A mountain of cash.
So,
That's
Mr.
kind of what I'm
MC1,
doing it, man. I've not sold, I've not put.
Sanjay, if you're sitting on a mountain of cash, what is Rain and Randy sitting on?
Well, they're sitting on.
Are they sitting on a few pyramids of cash or something, or
Oh,
I don't know, man.
Oceans of cash.
oceans of cash? Oh yeah, I like that. Oceans are huge. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mr. MC1, you've had I don't want to call it privilege because you've obviously worked for this.
Yeah.
You've had experience in both the VeVeVerse, OMI to NFT. You have different connections with the team. I don't know if you remember or you ever used MySpace, but back in the day, you could rank your friends, 1 through 8, and you can, and that pissed a lot of people off. Someone wasn't acting right, you can go on and switch them up. But how would you rank all of the things that are in beta or alpha right now, 1 through 8, whether it's OMI to NFT, VeVeVerse, things that are in line for San Diego Comic-Con, different parties? How would you rank them as your favorite to least favorite?
Yeah, so I think OMI to NFT would be sort of my main thing here, because here's why. VeVeVerse is great. Look, it works. I like it. I can't talk too much about it. I can describe it, but I can't show you what it is, right? It's great. The social side of it is great. What they're doing with it is great. I love all that stuff. But fundamentally, the technology for metaverses has not caught fire. Like all those metaverses, whether it's spatial, whether it's sandbox, so there's all of them. They're all sitting on the sideline. They're all building. They're all doing stuff. I mean, I think VeVe should expand the beta test. Like they have 130 people now, make it like 250, slowly make it like 1,000. I think if they get to 1,000, like almost everybody who wants to be in there is in there right now. It's not the main thing. I don't think it's the main thing now. There's a time for it. I'm a huge believer in AR, VR, metaverses, digital fashion, avatars, accessories, auctions in the metaverse, that whole immersive experience to collecting, immersive experience to selling and buying. I'm all into that stuff, man. But it's just not ready as yet. It's not that the climate is not right. So it's okay. VeVe, you do what you got to do, get it out whenever you can. I know people are very. Over to NFT, on the other hand, crypto's on fire. I believe crypto's on fire. I think that the day you enable, a wallet which has all of these things, which has ETH, which has base, and you can bring in stuff, you can switch stuff, you can swap stuff. You can buy stuff with fiat, with this, with that. To me, buy, sell, do whatever. Like there's a whole series of things. To me, there is VeVe doesn't have enough of that today. So having that feature functionality with wallets and all these other capabilities and stuff, I can't talk too much about it, but I think you guys get it, right? Having all that type of capability very important. Number one. Number two, I think this is not just a VeVe thing. This is not a VeVe thing. If you look at NFTs, the whole entire NFT space, there are two big problems in that NFT space that remain unsolved. One is friction, and the other one is basically the ability to get stuff, security. Friction and security, two big things. So the friction part is no matter where you are, you need a wallet. You need to do 3 clicks to get from fiat to whatever you need. And it's not easy. You might have a lot of ETH, but then the NFT is in Sol and something else is on base and something else is somewhere else, and you've got to connect a wallet and you got to do this and you got to do that, you got to swap. And you know what? You got to have, there's not one wallet with which you can do everything either. There's like 50 freaking problems with any wallet that you got to solve for. But if you think about like the masses, like your grandmother, right? If you want to tell your grandmother to buy something, how easy is it, man? In crypto, it's not easy, man. It is not easy. You have a wallet, you have to open it, you have all these keys, you have this, that, and the other. There's that friction is very high. And what is being done with Omi to NFT is to simplify that friction. And I'm not saying it's like one click, but there is that removing of friction is very good. Number two, and I think there's more room too, by the way. It's a journey, right? Let's start that with friction. Number two, security. I think the number of rug pulls in the space is just crazy, man. Somebody will eventually get you somewhere. There's like some freaking link in Discord or in somewhere else where you click on the link, you think it's real, it's actually real, but the guy got hacked and you got compromised. This shit in the space is insane. And I think that what these guys are building, the security on that, you may not, it's like a push and pull. You may not get everything that you have on the outside world, but if you get most of what you get on the outside world with improved experience and better security, now you're in good shape, right? So people will judge you. People will judge you. The guys who are, doing the open seas of the world, they'll come in and say, but it doesn't do this, but it doesn't do this, and it's truly not this. There are different flavors. What VeVe is building, and Ecomi is building, solves for two big issues that exist everywhere today. I think so. I personally think so. Now, maybe I'm wrong, guys, and maybe you can comment on that.
I just loved the last 15 minutes. It was so good to hear you open up about your deeper thoughts on why you're so passionate about VeVe and Omi. So I hope everyone really had a chance to hear that. Really good thoughts. And one of the things that I learned in investing is when I was new 20-something years ago, I knew I didn't know a lot, but other people did. And so I tried to find people with successful track records. And I didn't waste my time talking to them. I asked them questions and listened to them tremendously, because here's what my thesis was. If I learn to think like they think, then probably I'll start having the success that they have. And what I love about Mr. MC1's ETH background is he's got such an amazing background. Many of you might not know it, but he's been very successful in business and also with investing. And so he thinks like a strategic investor. And so learning to hearing his thoughts on why he thinks the way he does should help you kind of guide you as you're learning to think like an investor yourself. So that was fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, Sanjay, you've got people in the comments going crazy now. So,
well, don't point to something that's 3 years old and tell me that works great. I think the best part of Web3 is not been invented as yet. How many Bored Apes have been stolen, man? You tell me. Not from idiots, from intelligent people, man. How many punks have been stolen? Seriously, how many times have you yourself been rug pulled? A lot of the guys who listen to the show are very smart, bright people, man. You've all been rug pulled, and you have no recourse, and the whole system, is not, the best system has yet to be built. And I think that there's a lot of people working on it. And I think VeVe and Ecomi will be one flavor of it, which is safer, still gets you most of what you have on the outside. I mean, self-custody, I think, is important, man. I think it's a matter of time. But, there's a path to it. That's an OG, man. That's an OG. Yeah. Hey, OBL, how's it going?
I love her.
Orange Gag Lady. It's been a while.
OBL, you're the best. All the love, fam.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So Doc, we haven't had you on here for a while. I want to hear your thoughts.
No.
Doc, what are you thinking about VeVe and Omi these days? What's your favorite sort of feature you're looking forward to?
Well, I'm really excited for OBNFT, right? And I really think that's coming. The fact that Foster has said that OBNFT, that's their number one priority. So I'm bullish on that, and it's exciting to hear that Mr. MC1 has said that he's seen it and tested that. That's exciting, and that he's like that, right? So that's coming. But the other thing that I really enjoy is to date, VeVe's continued to keep my attention with new collaborations and things just constantly, right? Like the Ron English jukebox, learning more about Ron English and his story, right? He was just on that space and Sanjay was up there. Ron English was telling just about his history. It's so cool. That stuff is so cool to just listen to him freaking interacting with Banksy. It's great. And the Banksy was I learned from Ron English, right? I took some of his stuff. Man, that's fascinating.
That's crazy. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Or that Ron English helped inspire him, right? Maybe Sanjay could speak to that. But I'm looking at now these announcements of this awesome physical jacket with the art of Stan Lee, right? There's physical editions of VeVe exclusive covers, right? That are now coming to physical editions. I'm so impressed with the constant thinking ahead and these announcements that keep me engaged. What's that? Is that your dog?
Yeah, my brother's dog. It's like a belly rub.
Pitbull?
Oh.
No. Is it? What type of dog?
It was a-
I love the leg going.
All right.
So, man,
I didn't know you're a dog person.
Belly go.
Cool.
I'm loving that, Jordan. Honestly, and so we're still waiting on in the space. David, you had said that there was two, or maybe it was Sanjay, but there was two major IPs. I think it was David. Two major IPs that they were going to announce in July, and we know, or in June, and we know that things shift, things change, right? We got one big one with Viz Media, and manga, right? But my understanding was that this other one is larger than Disney. And I continue to rack my head as
is not Viz Media bigger than Disney? Viz Media is massive.
No, that's not the one, man. I don't think so. I don't think Viz Media is
Dragon
big.
Ball Z and
Pokemon is the big brand. I mean, Pokemon's 100 billion globally.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure.
I don't think it's.
I think that should be next year, right? We should wait if we got Pokemon, we should wait till next year when everything's going cray.
I think Pokemon is like Blackpink, where as soon as you get it, you launch it. It doesn't matter. It's like when that's a bad analogy. Never mind. But as soon as you get it, you just go. That's it.
But what I'd love to see if we do get something like Pokemon and whatever IP is some other ways to create engagement. I think about Pokemon Go, right? We have the technology nowadays with geolocation and things with your phone, and to be able to pin things. We have a lot of the technology now. I'm waiting for something like that because when Mr. MC1 sitting there talking about like one tweet like to go viral, something like that, right? A collaboration with Pokemon, or like and some sort of physical activity game with your NFTs. Good freaking night, like literally.
You're reading my thoughts because I was literally thinking about I was thinking of Pokemon Go, and you said it like 3 seconds later. That's so weird.
I mean, and whether it's that or not, like I'm just giving an example, but I think that there are things out there with the technology that's already here that could really create engagement, and that's one of the real ways to get Web 2 people involved is something that's fun and engaging, right? So we talk about getting crypto people, and that's important for like the OMI token, and then they get introduced to VeVe and they can buy stuff there. But Web 2 engagement, you get something like that, like an activity that's tied to an IP that they really know, and the masses will come. And then as the masses come, and then they're talking about new users and things, that brings hype, and it like snowballs, right? It's like it like builds on itself. So those are the things, Jordan. I think that like the connections that David Yu has in this space and his forward thinking continues bullish. I don't like missed timelines. It happens. That's why they've gone away from like stating timelines, right? I still wish there was a roadmap. There's things that like this project is not perfect, but when I look at the overall big picture, it's still like one of the best projects in the entire space for me. So,
and that's the thing, right? So if OMI does what we think it's going to do at some point or another, you got 22 million OMI, I've got around the same. That would be enough, right? That would be millions of dollars if it goes extremely well, right? And gets to say 10 cents. That would be what, 2.2 million at 10 cents, something like that. That's like it is possible, but we don't know when that's going to happen, and that could be years away. So that's why it is good to be diversified. And I've learned my lesson this time. I'm going to be, I think I'm always going to be diversified from now on. I'll still go like hard on projects I like. I put a lot of money in, but I'm not going to be all in. I'm not going to be 100% in. I think that's probably, like some people have done that. Warren Buffett did that and he did well at the very start. But as soon as he started having wealth, he started diversifying, right? So I think
he also had an enormous amount of wealth before he diversified. He didn't just have like $1 million and like, all right, I'm going to put it into 30 different projects. He had like tens, if not hundreds of millions before he did that.
That's right. Yeah. But it's important not to, so it is important to have a lot of your money in one project if it goes well and you can watch it and watch it enough. All in comics.
Yes,
Stephen's giving away his game here. He's obviously big on the comics.
Well, here's the thing, right? So today, everything is a gem. Everything is valued in gems. How much is the Miles Morales secret rare? How much is
it's all
any one of these things? The VeVe Gold and Silver logo is gems. At some point, it's going to be how many OMI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Point.
And as the value kind of fluctuates on OMI up or down, I'm not going to speculate on any price. Jordan, I'm not going to do the whole dollar or 10 cents or whatever. But just saying, as that thing goes up and down, suddenly you have that ability to hold OMI in a manner in which you can buy things later for less or more.
Sanjay, let me ask you this.
There's another degree of
freedom. You've been testing some stuff. What does Pokemon Go? Have you played Pokemon Go before?
I have not, but I've seen it. So one of the guys in collectors on VeVe, he lives in Oklahoma. He's one of the big. He's played in the tournaments and stuff like that. He's one of the big. Only one link, by the way. So I've seen him. I've seen it, but I've never played it myself.
Okay. So you're not gonna blink once if there's anything similar to that coming up from VeVe.
Oh, I don't freaking. Even if they did, I'd probably just blinking randomly. I could keep blinking now. You know what I mean? Don't trust me.
No, all good. I'm just trolling. I understand. You don't want to.
You mean a game? You want a Pokemon game? Like
I would like. I think Al Khan was talking with the Niantic team years ago about making something similar. And that would be possible, right? But how many collectibles they have? You could drop your collectibles in like a augmented reality space, like in Pokemon Go. So everything's in a physical location, and you could walk around. And
Mm-hmm.
instead, like in Pokemon Go, you've got these things called Pokestops, and they're all around the place, like parks and things. You spin them, and you get free goodies that can help you collect and catch Pokemon. And they could do something similar in VeVe. It's definitely possible where you could.
Maybe we can build a community game, Jordan. Maybe the 5 of us get together, put some Omi together, and we kind of go to
That'd be fun. That would
Omi
be fun.
and say, look, it's not called Pokemon Go. We can call it, Omi Go or something
Omi
like that.
Go.
You know what I mean? or Jordan Go or Crypto Rain or Randy
Omi
Chavez
Fire.
Go, or whatever you want to call it. And why don't we build a game, man, where you can do something and you can exchange collectibles and stuff like that. I mean, how hard is it to do that? I mean, right?
It's getting
we can build
easier,
it.
right? Every day is getting easier now with AI technology. That soon you can actually just go into like a metaverse space and talk to AI, and it'll just build the whole space for you. Like it's going to be that easy. And I've already seen a guy who did it. He hooked up ChatGPT to API calls. He hooked it up to like a in-game design thing, and you can just talk and generate a world as you go. So
I'm more excited about AI for more than building worlds. I'm more excited for animation of the avatars. So like you in voice, you tell your avatar what to wear and what kind of dance moves to do and how to interact with people, and who do you want your avatar to be rough with and who do you want your avatar to be nice to, and you know what I mean? And what do you want them? Which language do you want them to speak? Like right now, your avatar doesn't really speak unless you speak and it's your voice. But if you tell your avatar with AI to talk in Japanese, and suddenly you're communicating with people in Japan, like you're in the metaverse, your avatar is dressed up, in like a Japanese costume, and you're talking in Japanese to them, right? And you're interacting, and then you're getting the feedback in English. That'd be amazing, man. Like to me, that would be amazing application.
They have that technology now as well. With ChatGPT 4.0, it can real-time translate instantly. It's pretty insane.
If people step back and they think about the greater direction on where things are going, sometimes patience, it ruins a lot of would-be new investors. I remember the early days of Amazon. Amazon bled red for like 15 years where they didn't turn a profit, and they were primarily a bookstore, and you could order books online through them. And I remember the news articles just complaining, oh my gosh, Amazon still hasn't turned a profit. Oh my gosh, they're 5 million a month in the red, or whatever the numbers were. Forever. Couldn't be patient. Amazon then becomes one of the biggest companies in the whole world over time. Now, the crypto space is hard because like 3 years, Omi's token price has been going down, and people feel like that's a long time. That is nothing. Prior to this, I came from the real estate investment space. Real estate, when it goes down, it can sometimes go down for 5 to 8 years before it then turns around or has clearly bottomed out. So usually it goes down for about 4 years, and then it bottoms for maybe another 4 before you really realize it's over, and then it starts heading up. And so the whole beginning to end on a real estate cycle is 18 to 22 years. Whereas in crypto, because of what happens with the Bitcoin halving, what happens is every 4 years, Bitcoin goes massively parabolic because of the supply shock caused by the halving, about a year after the halving. Then a bunch of new people wake up to crypto and like, oh, I should look into this. They do, and then it cascades. That money first goes into Bitcoin, maybe a few other things, then it cascades through the whole market. So really, most narratives hit during that 4-year period. I don't see why digital collectibles doesn't hit. So it's like, oh my gosh, I've been patient for 3 years. Yes, and you might even get washed out if you can't be patient for another year. Because I don't know when this is going to happen, but you're going to regret not being around when it does happen, because it is like referring to the kindling. I remember being a young like Boy Scout, and we would build this massive fire, and then we'd try to light it with one match, and sometimes we failed, and and then finally when we got it started, it just went and took off. And that's what I see happening with Ecomi. Like, they continue to land top intellectual property. They're doing things right with the VeVe app. And even in this bear market, like every other NFT or digital collectible app out there wishes they had anywhere near the audience and the sales numbers that VeVe has. They're absolutely crushing it, and they're building a community. They're building a solid base of collectibles that are also augmented reality friendly, that can be used in augmented reality, that are out there, so that when new people with new money comes in, it's going to be like that fire absolutely taking off. And those that haven't taken their positions, well, don't say we didn't tell you.
I think it's also, look at peak FUD, right? When you look, like if you chart, right? If you look at stocks, you look at all kinds of asset classes, right? You look at a lot of different things. Things go up and down, right? And when you look at even like, take Amazon, for example, right? There was a time when there was peak FUD, and they were building like crazy, but there's peak FUD. And, there's people who kind of dumped their Amazon, did whatever, and there's people who picked up and said, hey, it's fallen, I believe in it, whatever it is. Other things, even with tokens and stuff like that, right? A lot of different types of tokens and stuff. There's people who kind of made certain decisions based on what they know, based on those peak FUD periods. And there's a timing to everything. You can buy everything too expensive, or you can buy everything too cheap. And, I'm not telling you what the right timing is, but you got to think through, at least for me, I bought OMI because I believe the FUD was peak and the company was building. They said, look, we can't tell you when it's coming, we're building. And I'm like, okay, I got the patience. So if it takes you 1 year, so be it. It just means, I got longer to buy it. And I bought, that's the simple reason is I love comics on VeVe. I love collectibles on VeVe. I love the VeVeVerse. And I believe in digital collecting. So since OMI is on this and OMI is going to be a currency, I'm waiting for peak FUD of OMI so I can buy some. And, in the end, maybe it'll be worthless and, it's gone and whatever. Maybe, it's not a big part of my wealth or anything. If I lose money, I lose money. But if the thing makes it, oh, baby, I'm shopping for a while now.
I mean, you got it in such a good time, Sanjay. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Most of us here have been holding OMI for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So if
But
I got it now, I could easily hold for 2 years, right?
Yeah, but I didn't. I had all the opportunity to buy it. I'm a big believer in the company, but I didn't buy it. The reason why I didn't buy it when you guys were all buying it, very simply put, I didn't see the inputs. Mm-hmm. I look at inputs, man. I look at inputs. You
don't remember, but were you around when they said they were going to do 5 to 10 exchanges in that year? Because that would.
You can tell me everything you want to, but I got to see it. I got to see the activity and the motion. I follow how many people on LinkedIn. I follow how many people, like who has how many people, how many have they hired, what are they hiring? Those are the kind of things in 2023, like in January, February, I started hearing the word that VeVe is hiring. They have a meeting in India. They have a meeting in Asia Pacific. They have multiple teams. David, you come on Spaces and say, we used to be, 10, 15 people, 20 people, whatever. Now we're like 100. I listen to those kind of things. Those kind of signals tell me economic activity. Like whenever you buy any stock, right, in Chinese stock or Russian stock or German stock or whatever else, any other foreign country stock, first thing you got to do is Google the factory. You look at the Google map of the factory and you see the parking lot, how full it is. How much smoke is coming out, you get all that information. That's how you know economic. Now they may be, doing some wrong things in there, whatever, but it tells you economic activity. And to me, I've had a year plus of knowing that VeVe has hired a lot of people. VeVe has been building on something. They're slow to build, I know that. So I'm not trying to make money by next month or the month after that. I'm in it for the long haul. But I need to see economic activity. I need to see news. And I'm seeing those news now. And even then, even after I got in, first I put 4 million, then I put like another 10. Then I waited till OUP phase 1, then I bought some more. Then when they announced this whole other stuff, OMI to NFT, and I heard Foster and these guys talking about it, I was like, okay, but are they really building? And I'm convinced they're building. Obviously, now I know. I won't buy now. I won't do stupid shit, right? Like I'm not interested in that. Now that I kind of know about what's going on, I'm not going to buy any OMI while other people don't know about it and whatever, right? So, and I'm not going to dump on you the day it comes out, and that shit is not for me. I don't need to do it in life, in general. But that's when I got into it, and that's when I started buying. That's me. You guys should do what you want to,
I'm learning. I'm listening and learning because you've obviously a lot more experience investing than probably everyone here except for maybe Rain. Rain's probably got maybe a similar, but I know Rain was into real estate more. Sunday, did you ever get into real estate?
A little bit, man. Like, I made a little bit of money in real estate, but I'm not like a real estate. I wouldn't call myself a real estate guy. But if there's the one thing that I do believe in, it's real estate. I think when you make your money in crypto, take some of it and put it in real estate.
Good
That's
place
the
to
best
put
place
it.
to put it. In my humble opinion, again, I'm not a financial advisor. In my life, I've made money in real estate. When I look at my family, they made money in real estate. If anything, if we'd done more of that real estate, we'd be, very, very wealthy right now, more wealthy than where we are.
Yeah.
We've got a comment here. Not FUD, but you can't take Ecomi VeVe's hiring seriously. They said they had a blockchain team, an exchange team 3 years ago. This is true. I don't know what happened to that team or what they did.
Before I go, I'd like to hear Dr. Stuff's thoughts on that because I know he has to go soon.
Yes, Doc.
Just on that, how teams can build in the background.
Yeah. We don't know exactly who the team is, but if I'm not mistaken, they're out of Spain. Is the latest that I had heard, right? That they'd hired this team out of Spain. Now, like what they're doing, like I don't know what their full role is. I would love to know that, right? But one of the things, whether they're looking at exchanges, and like I feel like I've beat this horse dead so many times, like it just keeps coming back to life. Like I don't know what else to say. People keep bringing up like that they promised exchanges 3 years ago, and that hasn't happened. And like, I don't know how else to put it, guys, but the regulatory landscape around tokens changed 3 years ago. It did. It did. And the projects who literally were looking forward and saying, we want to be here 5-10 years from now, they had to pivot. They had a game plan. They wanted to do token burns. You don't think that the team wants to do token burns and to do token buybacks? They absolutely do. That makes them a security or puts them at risk at being targeted by the SEC. With all of the major IP they have, they are a lot higher on the target list if the SEC wanted to go after projects than a lot of other projects out there. And it's not worth spending the tens to hundreds of millions of dollars fighting that. Honestly, it's not. And so they had to pivot, like to get on exchanges. And I say exchanges like, well, why would it just be on an exchange? Well, there was some concern as to with the lack of regulatory clarity, whether or not the token would be considered a security. So why put themselves with the target on their back until they can build out this utility and really grow out the project? So whether we like that or not, that's the reality of what it was. Okay. So I think that blockchain team was part of the ones that were talking about that. Now, also the blockchain team is now looking and saying, okay, what exchanges can we get on? We're on OKX. OKX is one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world. Now it's not accessible to the US, but like, it's just like, it just blows my mind that people have this like mindset that like the team isn't doing things. We are seeing the OMI token. We are seeing things. So to sit there and say that they have this team and that they're not doing anything, I completely reject that notion. Like, and I have some proof for that, right? So,
G Money also says it's been less than 3 years. He said it was maybe
no, it hasn't been. I think they announced about 2 years ago that they had a team. Right?
Yeah, 2022, right? 2022, I think it was.
Yeah, around there. So again, like, and this is just my thought process as someone who is putting my real money into these tokens, right, and into the project. And I'm sitting there and I constantly do an analysis and say, has my premise or has my thesis changed? Is the information I'm getting now change my thesis? Do I need to pivot? Right. And I'm honest with you guys when I feel like, hey, if this doesn't happen by this date, then I have to take a step back and look at things. I am very comfortable right now with where things are. Like I said, if we don't have OMI to NFT in some kind of beta form or more, like by the end of August, I said that I would have concerns. Now I'm hearing that Sanjay's tested that out a little bit. That's exciting. I would like to see that to beta, but obviously the mechanisms are there now. So anyways, like I hear a lot of these claims and people like to do that is reach back several years when literally the landscape was completely different. Metamona did that with her interview, right? When she's sitting there and people were like, oh, well, they asked fair questions to David. And I'm like, no, like the interview was not fair because again, I don't mind asking tough questions, but then when you don't ask tough questions to each of the candidates on the panel, then it's not fair, right? But then on top of that, to sit there and say, hey, looking back in hindsight, would you have made the same decision with the information you have now? Well, of course not. Almost who would, right? Like at that point in time. But during that time when they were making this, like everyone was doing that. Everyone was raising funds through a token. So I digress, right? Like, guys, completely honest, there is a blockchain team. I believe there's a blockchain team. I believe that they're working on things. I have seen the implementation of things of the OMI token. We're seeing that more. I think that we're getting OMI to NFT. And so I do take OMI's hiring numbers and the information seriously. And with that, guys, I got to go. I got to take out take my daughter to gymnastics. But I really appreciate this panel. I've missed being on Around the EcomiVerse. It's great to see you guys. Jordan, it's great to see you, man. And VeVe family, all the support, guys. Thanks so much.
Love you, Doc.
Yeah,
Love you,
thanks for
Doc.
coming,
Yeah,
Doc.
bye, Doc.
Love you,
Love
babe.
you there, man.
Enjoy the collectibles. Okay,
Amazing.
peace out, fam.
Take care. Bye-bye. Randy.
So going back, thanks, Connor.
Mr. D.
No,
By the way, Randy,
what was as heavy as
I
he
did
was,
tell the
and-
guys who are working on it that, look, when they get done, whenever they announce what they want to announce, they should come onto your channel because you've been one of the, biggest supporters for the longest of times. And, whenever the OMI to NFT announcement comes out, they should come onto your channel. So hopefully that happens like within hours of whenever the announcement comes out. You and that, they kind of connect and they come out on your channel. That'd be great, man.
Obviously I would like that because that'd be great for the channel. And obviously you as 10% owner would be great for you too.
Yes.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever seen, I think it's Rise of Planet of the Apes. It's the first one out of the newer series, 2012, where Caesar, and spoilers, but the movie's 12 years old, so whatever. He goes back before he starts his revolution. Me and my friend Anthony go to see it, and he's going back to James Franco's house, and he's just looking at him, just reminiscing of nostalgia of a time that is no longer there. Things are completely different from the time that he was living with him because of stuff that has happened. I was like, oh, just go back, just live your happy life. And my friend Anthony's Chavez, no, Caesar's got shit to do. I wish that they would come on. I'd love to have a several long hour conversation with all of them, with everyone involved. I almost said the name, but they have stuff to do, and it would be great, but I would be okay if they say hey, the announcement was one thing, that was phase 2. We're on to phase 3 and phase 4. We have this much to do. But going back to what you said before about comics and an input of infusions of capital, you have, let's say, AI companies that have put in hundreds of billions of dollars into building their AI company, and right now things are fun, but they're I get a lot of these ads for here's one that you can use and you can draw pieces of spaghetti dancing as figurines. Here's one where you could draw weird Disney characters and stuff, and they're fun, but they're not really things that can make you, it doesn't justify the amount of money that they've been spending. And why I'm a bit more bullish on OMI than I am on a lot of these AI companies is because they are 100% justifying all the money that they're spending. And they haven't had to raise capital for it. They haven't had to sell a piece of the company. They still could if they needed to. They could buy OMI. They have 30 billion OMI each that they're sitting on, not including the business development wallet. They could do that. So there's tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that they could raise if need be, but they haven't needed to do that yet. So everything that they've been spending has been from the war chest. And again, this is why I'm kind of not all in on OMI. I was all in for a while. I haven't sold any OMI, but a lot of new money that has come in, been putting into other stuff. But I would say with everything that they're spending, all of it has to pump at some point. And obviously I'll tell people when I'm selling, but this is probably the one thing that I'm not going to say is guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed. Obviously this isn't financial advice, but if any new person were to come into the fund that I help run and they say hey, depending on what their term of ROI is, whether short, mid, long term, a good amount of that would probably go into OMI, just because I think everyone should have a part of that in their portfolio, even if it's a smaller amount. But even other things that potentially could outperform OMI, I don't think they have the as high a probability as OMI is hitting, and things that are a bit safer probably don't have the probability of reaching the ROI that OMI has, and that's why it's my number one position. I think that's why it's Rain's position. I feel like I've said a lot here, so.
Yeah, it's a combination of those couple things that why I love OMI, right? So as an investor, I look at, like, is Bitcoin going to do well over the next 20 years? I don't see why it won't. But is it going to get you the ROI that you're wanting in, say, a 4-year period? Well, from bottom to top, if you're really lucky, Bitcoin might do 15 or 20x, which is pretty incredible if you happen to buy it right at the bottom. If you dollar cost average in, you dollar cost average out, you might make 7x, which is incredible when you start with $1 million plus to begin with. It's not incredible when you're trying to become massively wealthy. What is incredible when you're trying to become massively wealthy is 40 to 100x. Well, where is that possible? It's possible in the riskier space where there's higher probability that a project may fail, but if it doesn't fail, it's got potential good upside. Now, in that space, in the crypto space, it's really risky. First of all, 50% of the tokens out there are in one way or another some kind of scam. Another like 40% of the projects, they're not scams. They're good faith people that don't know what the hell they're doing, working towards whatever, right? Some meme coin or something, and they're hoping it will hit, but they just don't have the right background to make something happen. So 10% of the tokens out there are somewhat interesting, but you're looking for, high potential to succeed and high potential for ROI, like the combination of those both things. And you're also looking to buy it when it's really cheap. When it's really cheap, realize that nobody else is bullish on it when it's really cheap. It's crazy how that happens. Well, look back in history at all the tokens that have gone massive. Go back to when they were really cheap. And if you were able to put a time machine and go back to what the sentiment was like on that token, it would have been terrible. Why? Because people don't buy lows. They buy the highs and they hope it goes higher. Who does buy the lows? Savage crypto investors. And most people in the crypto space are not savage crypto investors. Now, some are learning to become that. Cool. Like, where is OMI at right now? It's at lows. What is the general sentiment on OMI right now? Terrible. Cool. What is the potential to succeed from here? In my opinion, extremely high. Extremely high. So the risk that it fails from here until when that narrative hits, I'd say is really, really low compared to the crypto space. What is the potential ROI? Well, it's so cheap right now that even if it just does like a 5-6x over its previous all-time highs, the ROI is incredibly good. And so what I like is something that has a very low potential to fail between now to when that narrative next hits, as well as high potential ROI, which is why I've been calling OMI my number one pick. That if I was to go all in on just one token, I don't believe in doing that, but if I was going to do that, OMI would be that pick. Why? The potential that fell from here. How many other crypto projects do you know out there that make so much ongoing revenue right now? Like almost no projects out there have any revenue coming in other than selling some tokens that they might be getting month to month from when they initially did their token sale and they set aside 30% for whatever. Yeah, they're not making money. They don't have any revenues coming in. So VeVe Ecomi is really special in that space. Yes, Chainlink has some revenue coming in. A few tokens related to exchanges have some revenue coming in, but most crypto projects do not have actual revenues coming in yet. And so VeVe Ecomi is in a really strong space that even in a bear market, they're selling these collectibles. The sales are doing incredibly well. They also make some revenues as those things change hands too. And so they're in a very strong revenue position compared to every other crypto project out there. And yet their token has been so severely punished. Cool. A lot of people don't want to buy it now. That's fine. What I say is just note what the price is now. See if I'm right on this. Because the truth is sometimes people have to miss out on opportunities to really learn the lesson. And what's going to make you super valuable in your life is if you become a savage investor. Because crypto is going to be the next thing for the next 8 to 12 years. But it might be asteroid mining stocks after that. It might be, who knows what it's going to be. But if you learn to become a savage investor, that is going to benefit you for the rest of your life. So like if you can't hear what I'm saying, that's cool. That's fine. Just note kind of what happens from here, how it plays out, and what those ROIs were. and then learn the lessons involved with that. Because like what I'm hoping is you become a savage investor. That's what I want to see. I want to see more people learn to think like investors, to weed out the trash, the crap that doesn't have a prayer. So they're investing because it's fairly risky, even investing in the projects that do have a prayer. But if you're wasting your time with the trash, you're just throwing money away. Because even projects that do have a prayer, and I invested in some projects, a number of projects, the last bear market and the bull run coming into this one, they died during this bear market. Well, they were decent teams. They just didn't last through the bear market. Like, failure happens in early stage business investing, but you're going to fail too much if you don't learn how to weed out a lot of the trash. And like Omi, what I like about it is I can't think of another project that has the kind of like price has been punished so well. It's got high probabilities to still be around in the coming bull run. And when that narrative really hits, well, when I say bull run, we are in a bull run. I'm talking about the blow off top. And then high potential ROI, right? So normally when you see a project that has such significance behind it, the potential upside is like 10 or 20x from here. But because the token has been punished so severely, the potential upside far exceeds that.
Ray, I was going to ask you a question here, man. So July 4th, right? I bought a bunch of crypto just end of June. I bought a bunch, so I bought it reasonably high. July 4th, July 5th, ETH fell down to like from 33, 34 to like 2,800. Bitcoin fell to like 54 or whatever, 53 something. Stacks and stuff fell to like whatever, $1.30 or something, $1.25 or something. So I was thinking about this, man. Like you keep talking about this thing. So I was like, you know what? The rest of the planet's kind of lost hope in this shit, so I'm gonna buy. So I went and I'm not a crazy amount because anyway, I put like I think about 15 to 20K worth of crypto. I bought it on that day. I was like, you know what? I want some ETH, I want some Solana, I want some Mutable. Between Stacks and Mutable, I picked up one of them. So I picked up 4 different cryptos. I bought it. I'm like, screw it. All right. Anyway, so here we are. 11 days later, it's all gone up 25 to 30, 40%. What would you do? Not financial advice, maybe it is. What would you do? Would you sell and then kind of keep that cash on the side for the next dip? Or just sit and hold and enjoy because your cost basis is super low? Why do you want to pay short-term gains on it kind of thing, right?
Yeah, the first thing, you are incurring short-term gains when selling right away. And it's like, do you really want to mess with that? Okay, so I'm a little bit different because I've been in this now. Like, this is my 3rd cycle. I came in halfway through the first one in 2017. And I played a lot of that when I was new. And sometimes what would happen is I would sell and not buy back in. Mm-hmm. So the lesson I learned is, crap, as much as I could take 25% gains, if I timed it perfectly, if it does dip again and bought it, cool. But some missed opportunities happened where it ran 5x up. And I'm like, wow, that opportunity cost of what I just missed out on was so huge. And so now I just leave it. I try to dollar cost average in at good times, even if I don't end up buying like the absolute bottom. When things go crazy, you're going to see numbers that you just can't even believe. Like, I do suggest people do not punch their portfolio into their phone, like on the CoinGecko app, and put the actual numbers in there. Number one, because when it goes down like this, it wrecks you emotionally and your whole day is bad. Secondly, when it's going up, you'll find yourself waking up at 5 a.m. every morning to check it, and you'll be unable to sell because the gains are so addicting. And you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh my gosh, my whole portfolio is up another 27% today. And then like the compounding is crazy. You'll be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And you get so addicted to that, the rational side of you doesn't kick in of, let me start converting some of this into stable coins because this won't run for forever. Because like 25% is nothing. 25x is something. And so like sometimes we take the 25% and we don't leave enough writing for like the 5x, the 6x, the 25x, depending on, like if you're buying blue chips like Solana, does Solana have 25x left? I doubt it. But it might have 6x left, 8x. And so if you sold for 25% gains and later it goes 6 to 8x, you're like,
well, I'm counting on that, man. I'm waiting for the 6 to 8x.
Yes.
Yes, Sanjay, you literally bought the low of this year, I believe. I believe that was the low.
I did.
And
I mean,
would've
not all
bought-
of it, right? I mean, I did buy the high too, but
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
2
I
weeks
did-
early on my settlement
in my
money.
defense, I
Super
did listen and I
annoying to
did
me.
pick up the low.
Rain, this is one of your guys, I think, from your group. Big A says a concern is a previous all-time high happened in the middle of a full send NFT market with KYC shielded by top people like Andre, Jake, and Logan Paul. It'd be hard to break all-time high, in my opinion, from Big A.
There was a really interesting thing that happened that, like, who knows? First of all, there was a person I think involved with the Ecomi project that like reached out to Logan Paul and got him to talk about Omi. And anyway, that person no longer with him. Like Logan Paul didn't know anything meaningful about Omi. And I don't like to see that, like people just shielding it for whatever reason. Did that help send it really high? It might have. But they didn't have much substance in. Omi was brand new. They had barely launched the app. The only thing they had was like Batman Black and White and a few other licenses then. It was really just, it caught the hype cycle. But what was fascinating to me was that how many people that didn't know anything about crypto were buying Omi. Now, Andre Jick is still very much behind VeVe and Ecomi. Like he's going to be talking about it, and he's going to be talking about it substantively when it runs again. And they don't have to pay him anything for that. Like he actually very much believes in it. He's a logo holder. Like
he is.
He's a really smart guy. And so I think it's going to catch traction without paying anybody to talk about it. I think you're going to have these celebrities showing off their VeVe collectibles, especially the extremely rare ones, because they're going to want to socially flex with them. And so I think you'll get some traction because of the intellectual property that they hold. They'll get some traction just naturally because social media is such a part of these celebrities' lives. And as people are talking about crypto, and digital collectibles or NFTs, they're going to show off some of their VeVe things, and it will catch some massive traction. And as it catches massive traction, guess what? A bunch of other celebrities FOMO in, and they want to show off their stuff. And that's when I'll be selling, you know.
And this is why I really like other projects as well. I mean, I like them so much that they're good for the hobby. I don't really invest in any other projects right now, but somebody made a post the other day about Candy Digital where they did, I think, almost $250,000 in the month of June, which is good. And,
Nice.
and again, we want these types of companies to do that because maybe somebody doesn't hear of VeVe first. Maybe they hear of Candy Digital first, and they read that headline. Hey, they did $240,000 in the month of June. That's really good. Now, granted, VeVe did that in like 2 days over here in July, but that's aside from the point. People are going to maybe not hear of VeVe first. They'll hear of something else first, and then all roads will lead to VeVe just because they're not JPEGs. They're not just things you actually read the comics.
They dominate the space as far as intellectual property, right? Yeah. And they have half the comics out there. Sure, they don't have DC comics for the actual comics. They have Marvel, which gave them almost half the comic selection out there. That is such a big deal, and I do think digital comics is going to be a massive thing in the future. I think people really don't realize how big that's going to be. Obviously, Sleepin gets it, right? He's like, I'm all in on the comics.
Let me say independent comics too. They're doing Addiction with Metropolis, you know, with Vincent and Andrew and these guys, David Quinn and these guys. That's pretty amazing. They've worked on that Evermind 1, 2. So I love that. I love that space where they're, you know, they're building a market, man. They're bringing in all these independent ones. And I think in the future, they could even do fundraising. I don't know if they ever want to do it or not, but, you know, like all this Kickstarter and all this shit can be done on VeVe, right? You basically say, hey, listen, we've got these guys. Their comics going to come out in 5 months. Here's an NFT if you want to support them, right? And if you buy it now, you get the comic later. Why would you not do that?
Yep.
I mean, there may be some rules around, you know, investing and this, that, and the other. Maybe they want to avoid that or whatever. But I think they can do all that stuff too. But I think there's a tremendous plan. Even if they don't do it, just bringing in all this independent IP, Crypto Rain, beyond Marvel, man, is amazing.
What I like about what crypto did was it actually reintroduced crowdfunding in a way that I don't think the regulators like. You know, after like the 1920s, the government in the US and a lot of other countries decide, you know what, we don't want regular people to be able to invest in early stage business. They're just not smart enough. They might invest money they can't afford. And what's funny is it wasn't the regular people that crashed the whole markets. It was actually the sophisticated, wealthy people going in the 1920s that made the catastrophic blow up. But like the poor people got shut out and the opportunity taken away from them because of other people's being too risky. And it's like, oh, we can't let that happen again. Well, crypto kind of re-brought that in. And there's a lot of people who don't like that. And so you're once again able to invest in early stage businesses. Like, think about it. You weren't able to invest in Google pre-IPO. Why? Well, you're not already rich. Sorry, you're shut out. You couldn't invest in the early days when they were just floating a white paper and some ideas. You couldn't put money in, and you didn't get a benefit on the 100x that happened as they IPO'd, and those early investors were cashing out at 100x profits. Oh no, those doors were shut to you. Why? Well, you're not already rich, so you don't get to participate. And so part of what Gary Gensler, I feel like, has been protecting is, hey, we want these doors shut to everyone who's not already rich. And the excuse is, well, we're protecting you. We all know that that's bullshit. It's not about protecting you. It's about locking you out so that just the rich can invest in those early stages, and then they can dump on you later when you're able to participate. Well, crypto's kind of done an end run around it, and that's why the regulators, when they finally caught on to it, have been so anti-crypto. But the genie is out of the bottle. All these people are once again able to invest in early stage businesses again, and the returns can be amazing if the business succeeds. But that's really what we're doing in crypto. And a lot of people, they don't realize that that's the real thing that they're doing here. And so they're just getting savaged over and over again because they're just like buying into whatever narrative, and they're not learning to analyze who is the team behind this? What is their potential to succeed? Okay, if they're throwing money at meme coins, do they realize that 99.9% of meme coins don't end up making massive successes if you're investing in the early days? Do you know that, okay, in this narrative, yeah, that's a growing narrative, but who is this team behind it? Oh, okay, it's in blockchain gaming, and the people all came from Ubisoft. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'll look at that. Maybe that's really interesting to me. We're in this space, and a lot of people don't realize the true rules of this. This is just early stage venture capital investing that now those doors are open to you. And people have never had these doors open to them, so they're just going around throwing money everywhere thinking it'll all go up, and they find out it doesn't happen that way. Or they buy late when everyone's piling in, which is when the smart money is then exiting, right? So one of the things a lot of people, when they come in the space, don't realize is when all the YouTube channels are covering a certain token, it is not buy time for that token. The buy time happened many, many months earlier when nobody was talking about that token. And now, if you're buying now, you're going to usually get wrecked because it's going to correct massively on you.
That's, one thing I'll add to that, Crypto, you're absolutely right, but investing in that space also requires some stomach and fortitude and experience. And until you have that, don't go burn too much because, I remember I didn't grow up with a lot of money and whatever, but I had one really good exit, and I had a bunch of money, and I said, okay, I'm going to start investing. I still remember the first phone call that I got on this matter. So I put money in a business. It was like a digital B2C kind of a thing for weddings, if you wanted to do wedding planning or whatever else. So this is something, I won't take the name of the company just out of respect, but anyway. So there was an experienced, guy with the 3 times previous kind of exits who was on the board, all this other stuff, right? And so these, so I invested in this business with these 3 ladies, and this, they had some, pretty heavy hitting kind of advisors or whatever. And I get this call saying, hey, listen, we're shutting the business down. So I'm thinking, oh shit, I've got $50,000 in this business. It's going down. So I'm like, what happened? Why did it happen? How did it happen? And then for 3 days, I had this uneasiness in my stomach. What the hell happened here? How did this money all go sink down the drain? But it was basically COVID had hit. There were no weddings happening. They used my money to fight it out for a year plus. And they just couldn't do it anymore. And, you can blame the whole planet. You can blame them. You can yell at them. You can do whatever. But, you have to realize, now, thankfully, I had 30 other investments like this in different places, and some of them were doing very well. But you have to, sure, if you're new to it and you kind of say, okay, there's a great way to put money in new companies, that's great. But, most early stage companies don't make it. And there's a level of risk that you have to understand. And a lot of people don't. And then they get mad. And they get really, really mad and upset and everything else. So I think all these tokens are like that, you got to be
instead of
smart about
taking
it.
ownership and learning the lesson, they want to blame others, which then deflects, like, it's not my fault, I just got scammed.
Yeah.
And I read a book that really helped me. Like, I was on this quest since I was young of how to become rich. Like, I was born into, I don't know if it was upper lower class or really lower middle class, but somewhere in that, and it probably depended on the year. But I was like, other people have money and we don't, but how do they have money and we don't? Like, how do I need to learn to think is what I came, like the question I started asking, how do I need to learn to think? And I read this book, I think it was The Richest Man in Babylon, where the guy talks about making your gold turn into more gold. And he says, at first you're bad and you lose to your gold. You put in stuff and you lose it because you don't know how to ask the right questions. You don't know who to invest with, and you're just bad. But as you learn how to do that, then your gold starts making more gold for you without you having to put additional effort in it. And that's how you create wealth over time. And he hits on a principle that's completely right. Like, you're always bad at something new before you're good. And what I like about investing is if you become good at this, you start to learn how to like sort through a lot of the BS and take risks where the odds are stacked in your favor. Now, even with the odds stacked in your favor, doesn't mean it'll always work out. But when the odds are stacked in your favor, in general, it's going to work out. And what I like about the crypto space is normal VC investing often looks like this. You'll invest in 10 different projects. One will massively succeed. 2 or 3 might get along and you make some return on investment on it. And 60% just fail completely over a whole 10-year process. It takes 10 years before an early stage normal investment really pans out or doesn't. And so like 10 years, you might have one massive success. And overall, you might make 7x on your money over that 10 years. Well, in crypto, it's like that on steroids, not only for 2 reasons. Number one, the business doesn't have to succeed for 10 years. It only needs to succeed until the next bull run. So if you're investing during the bear market, it might have 2.5 years that, you have to wait until the bull run happens. And then even if the business doesn't succeed for 10 years, as long as it succeeds to that next bull run and the narrative comes in, takes off massively, then you're back out of it and your returns are just so much higher than was ever available before. So when I see this cycles happening with crypto, when I really wrap my mind around it from 2017 into 2020 and 2021, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best heaven sent thing I've ever seen in my life. And my goal was always, when I went to university, I studied business. I took this class and these angel investors came and taught the class for free because they were independently wealthy and they were basically early stage business investors. And they talked about this early stage business investing, and they're the ones that told me how those numbers shake out. When I realized crypto was that on massive steroids, I saw this window of people that could learn how to take risks stacked in their favors, and they could make much greater returns, that you could go from very little wealth to significant wealth over 2 cycles, the kind of opportunity you may never have again. I was like, this is amazing. But so many people are wasting their time in this space because they don't realize what the game is. They're not ready to hear this. They're off chasing what is the new next meme coin that's going to launch on Solana. And it's like, okay, cool. You can't save everyone. In fact, I don't even try anymore. What I realized is certain people resonate with this message, and that's who I'm talking to. Everyone else, I'm sorry, they're just not ready to hear this yet. Cool. Maybe they'll come around in the next year or 2 as they notice certain patterns happen. Yeah. But a lot of people just aren't right for investing either. They're never going to get this, and they're going to end up losing a bunch in the crypto space, even though the opportunity was better than they could have ever had. They just didn't have the skills, or they didn't come with their minds open to learn how to have the skills to take advantage of it.
Very true, man.
Preach.
Also, just got a couple comments. One advantage of wealth is you're able to diversify. You're not all betting on one bet, shooting for the moon. Sleepin says, never tell me the odds.
It's a reference to Star Wars when they're about to go through the asteroid field. Yeah, when they're about to go through the asteroid field.
He's shilling his profile, and he's got some sort of meme coin attached to it you can check out. I have no idea what that is. Rain, I really, really enjoyed that. I was really listening hard.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. And it is interesting that crypto is like early VC investing, but it's such a shorter time span, right? Everything's accelerated. And like, you guys have seen the memes where it shows like the guy who's looks like he's 70 years old and he's like, I've been in crypto for 4 years. It's like, and it makes sense. It is like a little bit more stressful because everything's so high paced. Yeah, we really, really liked everyone chatting today. Thanks so much for coming on, Crypto Rain, Mr. MC1, and the real Randy Chavez. I want to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes or so. Maybe we'll go around with you, Randy, and then Sanjay, and then Rain to close it off with your parting thoughts. What do you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, sure. We have San Diego Comic-Con next week. So we might be able to get one more show in before that on Monday. Well, that's a famous line, sleep in. So if you would have said a non-famous, well, it's Star Wars, it's all famous. Anyway, there was a video posted about a month ago from a YouTuber called Clownfish. He's got almost 500,000 followers, and he did a video where he covered a bunch of these comic stores closing. And granted, there's a lot of reasons for that. Insert your meme here. The rent is too damn high. And then a lot of the boomers going in and saying like, oh, all these comics are woke. That's why I won't read them anymore. But I love comics. And so again, outside of the plethora of reasons, one of them I think stands is that everything is going digital. It doesn't make sense for Marvel, DC, or any of these other things to continuously print a bunch of comics where maybe 70-80% of them get sold to these comic book store owners, and they have these deals, and they have to ship it. They have to ensure they have the ink they have to pay for. Where just direct to consumer with digital is just so much easier. So it made sense why Marvel did that. Like why Marvel is kind of up VeVe's keister there, like because we can do things that we have that audience, and we can do things that they either don't have to do or can't do, whatever the reason is. And Marvel's not the only one that's going to do that. I think DC will do that at some point. I don't know if WB has the guts to do that right now. Maybe they'll drop DC, maybe they'll do it. But again, if they're going to do it, where are they going to do it with? They're going to want to do it with VeVe. Maybe they could make the wrong move and try to do it with someone else. But I do think that DC could also come here as well. DC Comics, we already have DC in a bunch of different ways. But I would take a look at that. I would take a look at how VeVe at San Diego Comic-Con got their own booth. Normally there's a 7-year waiting list. The company's not even 7 years old, and yet we're able to get that. How did they do that? They have a booth at D23 in August. So they're David's going on and speaking in between those events at I think Singapore. So there's a lot that they're doing, and again, it's not reflected in the token price. It's not priced in yet. So I'm just saying, look at the writing on the wall and see what's about to happen. And Omida NFT could be tomorrow. It could be 6 months from now, the next year. We don't know.
Omida NFT confirmed tomorrow. Just kidding.
No, it's coming tomorrow.
I'm just laughing.
Yeah.
But
all right, and that's it.
A couple of thoughts I'll just reinforce. One is, digitization is real and it's happening. Blockchain is one of the better technologies for digitization in the collecting space, both just pure digital or physical, stuff being accounted for in a digital manner, right? The RWA side of things of collecting is also a very nascent space. 3, it's my belief that nobody has solved friction and security in Web3 like the way Amazon had figured it out in Web2. And the best solution and the best company is still out there waiting to be designed, in my humble opinion. I love VeVe, I love Omi. Omi to NFT is real. I've touched it, I've played with it. And I can't comment on what's coming, when it's coming. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. And, this is a great panel. Thank you guys for having me on this panel. I truly enjoy talking to all of you guys. And I hope to be back on as soon as an announcement comes out on the matter, by the way. And I wouldn't miss it. Like, it would be my freaking honor to be on that show if you can squeeze me in when that announcement comes out.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Sanjay. I love hearing your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
So, yeah.
hopefully a lot of people here realize what the game is with crypto, and it is kind of like a game. It's investing is a game that if you figure out how to stack the odds in your favor, the results can be massive, but it does take a lot of learning and growth, right? So when I was new to crypto in 2017, I was working my day job. I was trying to get as much money from my day job as possible and put that into crypto while spending oftentimes 8 hours a night researching. My wife didn't like crypto at all, like for 4 years, because like I would come home and I'd be doing this crypto thing. I'd try to tell her about it and she didn't get it at all. And all she knew was it was taking time away from her. Well, 2021 started to make her a believer, right? It's like, oh, wow, what? Oh. And she still didn't really get it. She just knew that our finances had changed. Cool. How did it change? Well, delving into learning how to play this crypto game, how to make sure the odds are stacked in your favor when you're pulling the trigger on stuff. And that takes some learning and experience and some growth.
Very true. Very true, man.
And just one last thing on Sleepin's, I think he did a typo there. It says Boomconics was just purchased, and then it just says Penguin Random House. They were purchased by Penguin Random House. I think you just forgot that. But if we get Boom, do we get? Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. I mean, they have Viz Media, and Viz Media has Ruby, and I cannot wait for that. So,
I want to point something out too. Something that Rain said earlier. If you guys are paying attention, Rain said that it is possible. Obviously, not financial advice, not guaranteed. It's possible that OMI does a 4x or 5x off its all-time high. What that means right now, that's about 100 to 150x from the current price. Just let that sink in. There's not financial advice. Maybe it only does a 10x from here, but it would be amazing if it did 100x. And that's what I was saying earlier, that the amount that Doc and I have, even though it's obviously not nowhere near what Rain and Randy have as a bag now, it's still a significant amount that could, end up being $1 million worth or so. So it's, any OMI is good OMI. That's what I want to leave you guys with. And yeah, thanks so much for coming, guys. Really, really appreciate it. I'm gonna do a little song for us to dance it out, and make sure you guys come back and stay for next week. Also, a quick shout out to check out Epico from Epico Games and Epico.io, and I'll just chuck the OMI song on. Let's get ready, guys, and dance it out.
That's the key. So this will be the peaky dance. Shit.
Let's go, Randy.
What they say it's the rise of the digital G. OMI token got the market bound. Can't you see? With crypto, NFT, non-fungy fame on an ecomi spree. I'm the buzz one. Info in the blockchain, no mystery. Live, wow, can't ignore the stats. I'm repping on this. Yet I chuckle cause I'm betting on this. Rise to the digital kings. Value surging while my wallet sings. You call me, OMI, that's the play. NFTs jumping day to day. Look at the charts. The sky's the limit.